Jolawn, it's great to see you again.
Hi, Olivia. Thanks for having me today.
No problem. And at the same time, last year, we were speaking also about mental health. And at that time, you had just packed up your bags, moved your whole family and your job from Sydney to London to settle into a new job at Headspace as Chief International Officer. So I think it's fair to ask you if we can do a quick mental health check. How has it been since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, it's been a whole year. I had the privilege of living in lockdown in 2 countries now. So I can tell you all about the routines of what's easy to fall off and, get out of routine and have to go back to your core levers that improve your mental health, which for me are things like exercise and spending time with family, and having master control over my diary to figure out, am I spending my time and energy on the things that are moving the goals and priorities forward? And now, after coming out of lockdown, here living in London, I'm thrilled to be able to be back in the office and collaborating with my team. So I've come full circle, Olivia.
That's great to hear. And I know you could totally write a whole book about this experience. But turning to Headspace, it deals with meditation and mindfulness training. And this is an area that has really taken a front seat during the whole of the pandemic. How do you think the crisis has opened the doors to these kinds of conversations and our willingness to talk about this?
It's okay now. It's okay to not be okay. I think after this past 12 to 18 months, everybody has been hopefully more honest with the fact that we all have mental health challenges, and it's not a taboo topic. It's something that you don't have to say. It's being destigmatized. It's in the process of being destigmatized, and hopefully more and more managers are reaching out to their employees and saying, today was tough. I call the Zoom screen kind of like being on TV, similar to your job all day. You feel like you're hosting people and you feel like you're always on, and that can be exhausting. So having a vocabulary around saying, hey, I had a tough day, or you know what, I need to take a mental health day, that gives permission for your team to feel like they can recognize their mental health position and where they are, and be able to do something about it. And we're definitely headed further in that direction.
You raised the whole point about destigmatizing the issue. And maybe we are at a turning point. Maybe we have made some progress in the area, but it's not across the board. And when we talk about destigmatization of mental health, why do you think it's been so tough sometimes to approach superiors or bosses or our workplace and just say, hey, we need that time off, we're struggling or we're underwater? What is really so hard about breaking down that barrier?
It's hard because sometimes we don't even know what it looks like. I saw this quote on social media that said, especially in African-American women or Black women, that when we feel stress or anxiety, we think that we're failing. And so it could be as simple as the fact that it's hard to recognize when that's happening in your life, when you're feeling stress, when you're feeling anxiety, because it might be masked by something else that our society or our cultures or our norms say it's not okay for you to feel that way. So the first step, I think, is having an awareness of exactly what's going on with you and your body and your mind, and being able to label it appropriately and say, you know what, I'm not okay. It's not okay for me to feel like I have to, exercise, lead a team, raise a family, keep a house clean, and, look like whatever society standards are of what beauty are. All of those things might not be possible for you, and they might not be healthy. And so recognizing what are the things that give you success and joy and how you define that. And then being clear when you've stepped outside of that range and you say, I do have the symptoms of depression and I need to talk to someone. I need to talk to a coach. I need to spend some time being kind to my mind, being more mindful, or doing a meditation.
So what's something super simple that those working or from big corporates who are tuning in right now can easily implement that's practical and reasonable in their organization tomorrow to get to boost mental well-being in their workplace?
One of the things we do at Headspace is every fortnight, we call it a mind day, and it's a PTO day where you don't come to work. There's no work responsibilities. It's a day off. for you to be kind to your mind. And that's something everybody can do right now. Be sensitive to when your team needs to take some time off. And I find there's power in doing it collectively so that one individual doesn't feel like their inbox is filling up and they're going to come back to stress. Give your team a collective pause when they've done something really massive or there's time to celebrate.
Now, let's talk about Headspace and its products, because a lot of the times when we scroll through, we can see 5-minute, 10-minute meditation sessions. And I think that's all well and good for the short term. But how do we go about building those long-term habits so that we do improve our mental well-being, not just for one afternoon or one evening?
Yeah, during the pandemic, of course, we reached out to organizations to learn from them. And I think 94% of organizations had employees that were extremely stressed out. And about 63% of employees were ready to quit because of the stress that they experienced. So there's a whole breadth of things that organizations can be doing. One of the programs that we've recently rolled out to leaders is teaching leaders how to be compassionate and to lead with compassion. And so I know this might sound like fluffy words, like, okay, Jolawn, what does that mean concretely? It means being empathetic and then taking action to support that empathy. So for example, if you're rushing through one-on-one and not listening, and you have an agenda, you have objectives, or you have asks that you want to deliver to people, versus asking them, really, how are you doing? Like, really, how are you doing? And listening to that, and then taking action to adjust how your team operates. I know burnout is a topic that a lot of us have experienced over the past 12 to 18 months. And this is a great time for you to say, is my team exhausted? Are the deadlines too short? Is the workload too much? Are they not equipped to be able to do this? And if that's the case, change the process and structure so that your team can be set up to be more successful.
That actually transitions really nicely into a question that we received from the audience. And they said, do you feel that corporates are actually stepping up in offering general personal well-being services to employees, or do you feel that employees still have to invest in mindfulness in private?
I think it's both. Definitely organizations have stepped up. Over the past year, we've seen a 500% increase in the number of organizations that are asking us, Headspace, to partner with them, which we do through our product called Headspace for Work. So we enable all employees access to Headspace, and then we wrap it with a series of programs and events such as webinars or live meditation or a mindful eating class, so that you can really bring it to life within your organization. But even if you offer it to employees, it's super important that the employee then takes advantage of those tools that are being offered to them, so that those tools can continue to be prevalent. And it's not one size fits all. Meditation might not be the only thing that your employees need. There might be sleep and exercise routines or coaching or therapy that needs to be added in addition to that.
The point you raise about being one size fits all, that resonates with me, because I know you're Chief International Officer and you're looking at new markets and trying to scale Headspace in different countries. What have you learned in trying to address the topic of mental health in different cultures?
Yes, like you said, there's no one size, no one solution. At Headspace, we've recently merged with an organization called Ginger that offers coaching and therapy and psychiatry support. And what we found is that for more serious or more acute cases, meditation and mindfulness might not be enough. And so we have several organizations that say, we have signposting that's indicated that our employees need more serious help. And so through this merger, we'll be able to offer a wider spectrum of mental health solutions, all the way from a sleep cast to help you fall asleep, all the way to coaching that you can speak to somebody within under 2 minutes and hopefully get the help that you need more quickly and more accessibly.
Jolawn, I can only imagine that everyone in your circle must come to you for mental health advice. How have you tried to digest everything you've learned and heard from left and right and incorporate it in a way that fits into your own lifestyle?
Yes, I do get several questions about how does it appear as though everything is always kept together. And so there's a couple tenets that I subscribe to. The first one is around having clarity. There's a quote by Brené Brown that says, kindness is clarity is kindness and unclear is unkind. And that's something that I think starts with having personal clarity. A lot of people made job transitions throughout this pandemic. I know we've heard about the Great Resignation and what's now being termed as pandemic moves, where people move to either lower cost cities or cities where they could be closer to people who they loved and cared for. And that's super important, that you determine what are you great at, what are you happy doing, and what can you hopefully monetize if you're working in the corporate space. So that's step one, is having clarity and then communicating it effectively. I remember when I started off very early in my career, I had just had my second son and he was going to daycare, and I had to leave at 4:30 or 4:45, a time that I felt like was before the end of the workday. And I didn't communicate that to my manager. I even went to a 4:30 meeting and felt all the stress and anxiety bubbling up as the clock ticked by. And I didn't communicate where my boundaries are. I've never worked for a manager that wasn't supportive when I said, these are my boundaries. This is what's important to me. Will you support me? And so I think once you've determined what's clear to you, communicating that to other people. And that can be as small as setting boundaries on your diary and in your calendar to say, this is when my day starts. This is when my day ends. I found during lockdown, I had my husband and 3 children at home and needed 90 minutes to cook lunch, eat lunch together, and then clean after that. And that's something that became mandatory. And sometimes we don't feel like we have permission to do that.
Jolawn, it really seems like you found your rhythm there, and I'm really glad to hear that. I know that you posted about this. You actually made it your New Year's resolution goal to extend more trust to the people around you, because you believe that that's the opposite of stress. I want to know, do you think that you can tick that off the to-do list? Have you managed to achieve your New Year's resolution goal?
Oh, I'm so happy you're checking in with me. What a great reminder. I think step one to that is hiring a great team, which I'm so thrilled that the international team at Headspace has an amazing leadership team that actually happens to be predominantly women from all walks of the world and different countries. And so, number one, I've built out a team of women that are highly capable, and therefore I trust them immensely. So yes, I would say I'm making great progress on that, and I look forward to all that this team is continuing to do over the next year.
I'm looking forward to seeing or hearing about your next goal. And thank you so much for sharing everything that you've learned. I feel already uplifted from speaking with you. So thank you so much for that, and take care.
Thanks, Olivia. Bye.